October 18th. I appreciate everybody being here. As we had just mentioned, Mr. Gray is in surgery this morning, so y'all please keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and sorry that he's not here. But if we could, we'll go ahead and have an invocation this morning. If you would, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for all the many rich blessings you've bestowed upon us. Please forgive us for all our sins. We know there are many. Guide us and protect us. Help us to make good decisions for the citizens of Horry County. Amen.
Amen.
We can do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Nobody took it.
We just need to approve the agenda. Mr. Ives, it's just me and you, so
Move that we approve the agenda.
if you'll make the motion, I'll second it, and we'll approve the agenda. So thank you very much. First item is the presentation of the fiscal year 2017 annual financial audit. Turn it over to Ms. Bidding, who I'm sure is going to turn it over to Mr. Clever.
I am, and I just let everybody know that I will have the hard copies for the board at the board meeting Tuesday night. Mr. DeClever brought those to me this morning, so I'll have a copy for everybody. But I am going to turn it over to David. Appreciate him being here, and he's going to go over just a few things with you and open it up for questions.
Great. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am pleased to report to you today that we did issue an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. An unmodified opinion is also known as a clean opinion. That means that the amounts and the disclosures contained in the statements are fairly presented in all material respects. I would like to just go through the statements briefly and point out a few highlights to you. I believe you have the statements electronically. The statement of net position is on page 7 of the presentation. I'm not sure what page that would be on the PDF. But if you do get there, you'll see that total assets at year end were $80,339,000. This is a 5% increase from the previous year. The largest increases were in cash and investments and in capital assets. Cash and investments increased $2,890,000 during the year and totaled $33,174,000 at year end. I would like to point out that $28,775,000 of the total cash and investments has been designated by the board for specific purposes. And I will point a note out to you in a few minutes that discloses what those purposes are. You'll see capital assets were $43,654,000 at year end. This was about a $406,000 increase. This increase is primarily due to the completion of the piggyback expansion project during the year. Total liabilities at year end were $29,824,000. This was a 10% increase from last year. This increase is primarily due to an increase in closure and post-closure care costs, and that was for the capacity that was utilized during the year. The statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net positions on page 9. There you'll see that total operating revenues for the year were $25,341,000. This was an 18% increase. Tipping fees were up $1,700,000, and that was primarily due to a 16% increase in tonnage that was received at the landfill. The sale of recyclable materials increased $1,400,000, and this was primarily due to a rise in cardboard, newspaper, and scrap metal prices. Operating expenses were $24,499,000. This was a 19% increase. The largest classification increases were in the personnel classification, professional and contractual, and closure and post-closure care costs. You'll see that overall for the year, the authority's operations resulted in an increase in net position of $2,115,000. The last item I'd like to point out is the prior period adjustment on the bottom of the page. This was done to correct some 2016 amounts. This adjustment relates to an error in the amount that the engineer provided to the authority as far as the capacity that had been used. The spreadsheet that he provided was mislabeled, and as a result of that mislabeling, we had to make a correction there. The notes to the financial statements begin on page 12. I'd like to maybe just point out a couple of quick notes to you. Note 1, which begins on page 12, is a summary of all the authority's significant accounting policies. This note provides information on how various transactions are accounted for in the financial statements. Over on page 15, you'll see note 2. This note discloses information about the authority's cash and investments at year end, what the investments were actually held in. Note 3, over on page 16, discloses the designations of cash and investments. Here you'll see amounts have been designated for closure, post-closure care, equipment replacement, construction, MRF contingency, OPEB obligation, and waste diversion. Page 17, note 5. This note provides detailed information about the composition of and changes in the capital assets during the year. And note 7 on page 18 provides information about the authority's closure and post-closure care liabilities. Those are just a couple of notes that I wanted to bring to your attention. The last item I'd like to review with you is our report on compliance on internal controls that was issued in accordance with government auditing standards. That's back on page 47. Probably should be the last page of the PDF. This report states that our audit disclosed no instances of non-compliance and no material weaknesses in the authority's internal control structure. I'm also pleased to report that our audit did not disclose any other findings that would warrant issuance of a management letter this year. I'd just like to conclude by saying it was a pleasure working with the authority staff and completing our audit engagement, and I'd be happy to address any questions that you all may have about the presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Ives?
No questions, thank you. Please.
Let's clear up the thing about Vance's, not a miscalculation, but explain that to where they understand that we just had to straighten up.
What he provides for us each year is the capacity used, and in error, he was providing to us the capacity remaining. And we caught that miscalculation and discussed it with him so that he could get it corrected in the future. And so that's why we had a prior period adjustment. He had done that same thing previous year, and then he did it again this year. So we actually had an adjustment to closure and post-closure, which reduced our liability, which actually brought our cash and liability, of course, closer together, which is, great in this instance. However, that's where the error came in. So that was a prior period adjustment that David mentioned.
I have a question because I'm new to the board, not because of a question about the audit, but since the subject is in here, I wanted to ask for a clarification on where we stand on setting aside funds for future retirements. We're using the state system, I believe, and the state isn't adequately funding their reserves. And what have we done to bolster our reserves for any future requirements?
We are fully funding the liability. Like I said, we took 5 years and got it caught up because we were behind, but we actually are up to date on that, and we are fully funding our portion of the liability that the retirement system requires us to.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cleve, I know that you don't look at every single department, every single financial transaction, but in an audit like this, are there times where you pick certain areas to kind of do a spot check and to ensure, and if so, what were those areas this year did you check on?
We do a variety of testing across all areas.
Mm-hmm.
We will typically have different focuses each year. Primarily this year, we were really focused on the capital assets with the construction projects wrapping up this year on the piggyback expansion.
Great. Okay. And cooperation, everything from everybody, good?
Fantastic.
Great. Fantastic. I knew it would be. Just always ask the question. Good.
He showed up, I believe a hurricane almost came through, and the auditors came, and it was a bright Monday morning.
We were scrambling to try to get everything done just in case.
Sure. Good. Mr. Ives, any other questions,
No,
comments?
That was
Yeah.
great to point out, that
Good.
if we had significant expenditures, that's where you focused your
Sure.
attention this year. Thank
Right.
you, sir.
Good.
And Mr. DeCleva will be back at the board meeting Tuesday night to
Great.
answer any questions that the board may have. I do have a letter in there just asking the committee's approval to, to approve the audit, and, send it to the
Recommend.
board, recommendation, send it to the board, yes, sir.
So moved.
And I'll second that, and we'll.
In
all
favor.
In favor, and we'll recommend that to the full board on Tuesday night and have question and answer period at that time. But thank you for the comprehensive audit, Mr. DeCleva, and the clearly understandable reporting.
Well, we appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Well, good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
No, sir.
Thank you,
Like
Mr. DeCleva. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm gonna let David head back. I'm
Yeah,
sure all
absolutely.
kinds
We'll
of
see
fun
you
things going
on Tuesday night.
Yes,
Good.
sir, we'll see you
Thank you
Tuesday.
so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a good day.
You too. Item 2, the MRF update.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at the MRF update. Of course, this is for the month of September. Just, like I said, a few notes on this as well. I know we haven't kind of taken a look at it lately. As you'll see, though, for the month of September, one of the things I kind of want to point out to you is the average price for the month was $164.72. That is a significant decrease. We've been seeing a slight decrease each month, but then we've seen a drastic decrease, of course, for September. For August, the average price was $205.72. So like I said, we have seen quite a drop there. The other area I really want to point out to you as well is the tonnage not sold. As you can see, they had 1,328.1 tons still sitting on the floor at the end of September. And like I said, last month, they only had about 941 tons. I'm gonna let Mike, when I kind of have to go through these numbers, let Mike kind of explain to you where we are on, getting the material out, and the prices as well. The tonnage sold also, a significant decrease from previous month. This month, we only sold 1,706.37 tons, and last month, we sold 2,469.56 tons. So like I said, definitely you can see that's where our two weaknesses are in being able to get the material out, and of course, the price drop. Average for the month for our revenue was $281,079.43. Last month, our revenue that we made off of selling the material was $506,564.17. So we've seen it cut about right in half as far as our revenue goes.
And can I ask a question?
Sure.
The materials going out, is that a conscious effort on our part because of the lower prices, or is it the market, or a combination of both, or what?
It's currently the market.
Okay.
We don't have any capacity to hold much anymore, so we're doing everything we can to get it out. We are actually stacking it out in the parking lot currently and covering it up with tarps and plastic, and, because we don't have any more space in the building. We have almost 1,600 bales as of yesterday afternoon, which equates to probably almost 50 loads of material that we've, of cardboard. That's just cardboard alone. That doesn't count the newspaper and stuff like that. We didn't even get a price on wet newspaper this month at all. So we have some paper that's considered wet. It's above 17% moisture in the bale. So, and have no place for it to go. And we can't find a market for it.
Those were some interesting articles that you circulated about the market and the recyclables and what kind of the current state of affairs. That appreciate you
Yeah, just
providing.
trying to make sure the board, or the committee, the recycling committee was aware of what was actually going on in that market. It's pretty tough right now. It's, China has about 2 or 3 mills that's getting permits to take export. They're trying to reduce the current, pollution in the country, and they've shut down a bunch of mills, and only letting them take virgin material. So they're buying it, and the cardboard prices inside of China right now is about $500 a ton. So everybody's hoping that the price is going up as high since there's such a demand within the country that they'll start letting more exports in. But there's people that's not even bidding on it, that's been bidding in the past. They're not even bidding on it, so we're getting a selected few. The person that won it this month had a backup on his buyer, and we didn't think we was gonna get rid of anything. We had a conference call with him earlier last week, and we got our first truck out today, this morning. So when you're generating about a load and a half a day, which is about 50 bales a day, it gets tough to find a place to stick them. We're doing things like stacking them 6 high rather than 5, try to get as much in an area as we can, which scares me having them that high, but just don't have a choice. Trying to make sure everybody stays away
Still
from
within the safety range though, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that it's safe.
Yeah, and trying to make sure everybody, they stack properly where they don't turn over, and make sure everybody stays away
And
from them.
that's still for normal winds.
Yeah.
For fun.
We know it's cyclical, and, you know, obviously this is kind of a down cycle right now, and hopefully it continues and
Hopefully it'll
moves.
create larger demand
Right.
downstream.
Sure.
But it-
All indications is cardboard and fiber prices are going down again next month.
Is that right?
That's where it's standing as it stands now. The current buyer says he told us yesterday he could have 40 loads out by next Wednesday. So I'm hoping and praying he can. The trucks are lined up currently,
Right.
but we only have 2 forklifts, and we can only load so many a day. And we are having some overtime in order to work people over to try to load them if the trucks are there on into the night. We typically stop taking trucks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because it takes about 2 hours to load one. That way we're at 5 o'clock, but we have extended that time to try to get them out.
Thank you.
And then moving down to the middle of the report, the total incoming tonnage, that was also down about 1,000 tons this month. As you can see, this month we took in 4,015.18 tons. Last month it was 5,039 tons. Probably the biggest significant decrease was in Charleston. We knew with the storm and stuff that they were actually closed down for several days, so we didn't get any material from them. So that had a big impact on the incoming tonnage as well. As you can see, the total rejects actually hauled to the landfill this month were a little bit higher in the 17.61%. But what we plan to do is, of course, we'll average that out. You know, we'll take less maybe in the next month, that kind of thing. So at the end of the year, we'll end up with our clean 14.5%. Mike and them are doing a great job of watching that each month and trying to get it as close as they can. They were just a little bit over this month, so they'll balance it out. As you can see, the revenue due from Charleston, there was actually none this month. Of course, there won't be any more with the rejects because now that we've agreed to send everything back to Charleston. But the cost share, there wasn't anything this month either because of the price drop. With the new contract, like I said, it didn't fall with any guidelines for any kind of revenue exchange this month. So the total MRF revenue for the month was $281,079.43, with our expenses being $395,616.91. So we did see a slight deficit this month of $114,537.48. But as you can see over on the right-hand side, year-to-date, the revenue is $1,339,729.81, with expenses being $967,904.33. So we're still revenue over expenses year-to-date of $371,825.48. And like I said, you know, I know they've had a couple of big expenses. I know they had a belt and they had some different things going on that, you know, had it up a little bit. So, but Mike and them, like I said, again, have done a very good job of maintaining their expenses and watching them, especially with, like I said, with the revenue being down, they're really watching it very closely. So, like I said, you know, they're still managing, you know, and like I said, we hope to see some increases in the prices, but it doesn't sound like we're going to right away. This will be presented at INR on October 31st. Like I said, it'll be our first one this year, so I'm actually going to present 3 months to them. I hated just to show them just September. I wanted them to be able to see the trend as well. So,
Move.
right, yeah, exactly. I wanted them to understand where we started and where we've come, so they understand where we're going with this. So,
And when we send the information into INR on this, add another item also on the Charleston, update on the Charleston MRF
okay.
on that
Where,
agenda also.
yeah, where are they on, I know they've run into some
We have-
challenges.
We ran an article out of the newspaper down there, and it'll be handed out in the next committee meeting. If you got copies there, Nanette, give them a copy of that, and we'll make more copies for the next committee. One of the councilmen and deputy administrators came up, I guess, 2 weeks ago. And advised us of what was going on, and apparently when they bought the property from an asphalt company, they had a company to look at the soil conditions, and apparently cleaned it up to a degree. And then when they started the MRF, the contractor, Marshman, was concerned about soil conditions, so they stopped and found out that 64,000 square feet building, and they're gonna have to probably cut 14, 16 foot out the footprint and backfill. And the article in this article here, one of the councilmen stated that the soil folks were gonna pick up the cost.
Well, they should.
Yeah.
This is major.
So, this thing indicates that it's moving on. They indicated to me a couple of weeks ago that they was probably gonna push them out 6 more months. And the biggest concern, and I talked to this newspaper person, and he'd got kinda indicated that, their welcome had run out in Oak Ridge County, and they were concerned that we were gonna cut them off. But I advised the councilman that as long as they were working, proceeding on with the construction, I knew staff wouldn't have a problem with recommending another extension outside of the contract agreement. And, but they would have to request it, but if it was one of those Mexican standoffs down there, it was gonna be a different story. So apparently they're moving on, hopefully anyway.
Good. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have for you, unless you have any questions for me.
Mr. Ives, any questions on
No.
the MRF
And
update?
I know you're relieved, but I think it makes more sense to be making quarterly reports to INR, because then they can see a trend. When you're
Exactly.
seeing it monthly, you're not being
That's-
able to picture it, and I think it's more important they see the trends.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And is that the plan going forward? to
Yes,
do
sir.
quarter? It is, okay, good. Yeah, I agree. Good. Anything else from the committee?
And it seems like that trend more is based on actualities instead of other things.
Well, true. I mean, I think the results have spoken well, and I think they know that we're result-oriented, and that's calmed the other concerns they've had.
And, you know, these markets, we expect the markets to be up and down a little bit, and if the prices fall back a little in the past, people are still picking the material up.
Right.
But now, it wouldn't have mattered if we'd had a gold contract with somebody to take it for a certain amount of money. If they couldn't get it through the ports, they'd just say, hey, sorry, we out. So I still think the way we're doing business is the way we look at it monthly, or every time we get a load, take prices on it. But we just got to move it out if any way possible.
Markets are elastic, and I think that's all the more reason we should be doing quarterly reports, INR, that there are no surprises at the end. So, thank you.
Anything else from the committee?
None?
Anything else
sir.
from staff?
No, sir.
If not, we'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
We'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good all.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And there was quite a